When I was working on coming up with today's recipe, I took elements of shepherd's pie and of Italian wedding soup and combined them to come up with a soup that comes together really quickly and that is filled with familiar and comforting flavors. Hi, my name is Shauna Alvarez and I'm the executive chef here at America's Grow. For this month's recipe, we're doing sort of a take on an Italian wedding soup. Instead of making meatballs though, we're just gonna brown the ground meat quickly. Today we're using chicken. And the whole meal comes together probably in about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the vegetables you use. The trick to that is that you really have to develop flavor all along the way. And so this recipe will teach you some tricks on how to do that. We're gonna start by adding 2 tablespoons of olive oil and your minced onion to a pot over medium heat, season with salt and saute until the onions are translucent. So now we're gonna add the ground chicken. You can use any kind of meat, or you could add a can of white beans right now instead if you're avoiding meat. And then we're gonna season it pretty aggressively. This is where a lot of that flavor for the soup is going to come from here. So garlic powder, Italian seasoning. You could use any sort of dried herbs you like. Dried parsley. I think parsley always goes really well with the peas and the potatoes that we're going to add in. Onion powder. Even though we have fresh onions, the onion powder is concentrated, so it just really adds another depth of flavor. When you're making a soup in like 10 minutes, you really want to take any excuse to add concentrated flavor to make it taste like it was cooked for longer. I'm gonna add the potatoes that are all diced. A couple tablespoons of tomato paste. This is the same principle. This is a really concentrated flavor that's gonna add a lot of depth. We're gonna mix to coat everything with the tomato paste. And we want the tomato paste to cook in the oil and the spices a little bit because it's gonna caramelize and build that flavor again. We're adding the potatoes now as well because they take longer to cook than the other vegetables. So we just wanna give them a couple extra minutes on the heat. They are also like little sponges for flavor. So they're gonna soak up this oil that's infused with the dried spices, the flavor of the onion and the tomato paste. We have carrots and celery. I'm gonna add that in. I'm gonna add the entire box, which is a quart of stock. This is when you really wanna make sure you're scraping the bottom of the pan. So any of that caramelized flavor is gonna end up in the soup. You can see how the tomato paste has turned the broth like slightly red. That also, is indication there's a lot of flavor in there. The stock that I used is unsalted stock. So you wanna make sure that you're tasting and adjusting for that. They have low sodium stock as well. I always suggest either getting unsalted stock or low sodium stock so you can control how much salt goes in and what flavor you want to end up with. We're going to turn the heat back up a little bit, bring it to a boil, reduce, and cook it until the potatoes are tender. Add a whole bag of peas. You could add a whole box of like baby spinach or arugula or kale at this point. And then that's it. Once the peas are warmed all the way through, which is only going to take a couple of minutes, we'll be ready to eat. One of the cool things about this soup is that you can bulk it up a little bit more or stretch the soup by putting leftover cooked pasta or leftover cooked rice in the base of the bowl. You don't want to put it in with the soup overnight because it's going to suck up all of the liquid and get soggy. And then ladle the soup over it, the hot soup over it. You will warm up the pasta and add a little bit more bulk to it. We can garnish with anything. We have these beautiful chives from the planters at Grow a Robe. Fresh parsley would be beautiful. Any herb that you really like. And then today I'm going to put Parmesan cheese on it. You could do parm, and then you could squeeze lemon juice, have some red pepper flakes, any of that kind of stuff. All right, we're all done. That only took about 20 minutes. This is the perfect example of the kind of recipe that I like to have in my back pocket on those nights where I really don't think it's going to be possible to get dinner on the table in time. It can be really tough during the weekdays with school and work and activities. And this is the kind of thing that if you have some ground meat, some frozen peas, and some pantry ingredients, you can have a really nourishing, delicious meal on the table for your family in about 20 minutes. I hope you enjoy it. I'd be really interested to know how you adapt it for your own family. Follow us on social media or subscribe on our YouTube channel so you don't miss a recipe. Happy cooking!